Hi everyone, and welcome to Mission Unfiltered, the podcast for social entrepreneurs building from zero to one. I'm Jenny, founder of Mira, a Swedish hub helping social impact ideas turn into reality through grant support and fundraising. And today we have a guest, Anton Toll Håkanson, who is a founder of DayCape, a visual scheduling app making education more inclusive for children who need extra clarity. So, Anton's story will show us how personal experience, design thinking, and perseverance can turn one person's idea into a meaningful change. So, let us listen to Anton's story. Welcome, Anton. How are
Thank
you
you.
feeling today?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a little bit bummed about the Swedish weather, but it's kind of waiting for the snow. It will be nice to be a little bit more light when the snow drops.
One of my colleagues told that the light will come, what did she say, in 7 weeks, 21st of December. So it's soon. Soon it will change to lighter, 1 minute or something will add towards light.
Yeah,
So
which,
we are waiting for that. Yeah, Swedish weather in November is not the best. But today we are speaking about something which lighten up our days, the work, the mission we're working around. So, and we will talk about you, Anton, and about DayCape. So, DayCape, it sounds a very cool name when I first heard it. So, what does it mean? Why did you choose this name for your social idea?
well, yeah, I worked a lot on that name and had many sleepless nights where I thought about the name. But I wanted to have a name that actually meant something and was a little bit catchy. So I worked through the top of mind ideas with time and scheduling. I kind of got stuck on day because it's when working with structure, it's more important to finish and have a good day rather than a good week and a good month, essentially. So I wanted to add that, and then some positive feeling as well. There's especially when I worked with a lot of new diverse families and so on. There's a lot of day-to-day struggles. So I wanted to uplift the confidence of the children. So then I got into this superhero theme and mixed a lot with. Yes, I worked with a lot with combining different words, but then I ended up with that. Well, there's something nice with putting on a cape and then day, and then it just clicked that it felt really catchy.
It does. You do have a superhero feeling when you hear this name, and also for me, I really like the focus on day because exactly like a social entrepreneur building the business from zero, it's most important the art of small steps because it's never this big revolutionary. You do something once a year. It's everyday perseverance. I can imagine the same for a child who needs a planning. It's a day which is in focus and not something more general, bigger goals. This is a bricks building your life basically. So it's a cool name, really. I think you managed well there.
Yeah.
And I've made a research for this interview, and in one of your interviews, I read that you have your own experience from your school, when you missed this kind of support, missed this kind of app. So can you tell a little bit more? What sparked your journey? When did you really understand that this is a hallelujah moment? I want to build something I was missing.
Yeah, so from an early school, I experienced that I had trouble with doing school, that especially during the transition between classroom breaks, when to listen on the teacher. I kind of was a dreamer and maybe a little bit absent-minded, and the teacher experienced me as you need to I had one teacher that really figured that out, that you need to signal to Anton that he needs to listen because I looked away, but then I kind of learned that I could kind of think about something else. and still look at the teacher. But I don't know. I didn't understand why, but I felt frustration between when things that was unexpected happened. I remember one time I got quite mad at the teacher that I was sitting and drawing something, and the other kids has moved out to break, and I was sitting there, and she got to, like, went to me and said, like, it's a break, and I get quite frustrated, and no, like, no, get away. So didn't understand why I felt that frustration, but I just felt it was chaotic and difficult to just keep along with all the different events during the day. So when I was adult, I started to study design and study especially app design. So then I started to encounter these neurodiverse methods and practices that it's actually really important for children, especially if you are on the spectrum or neurodiverse, that you need this kind of structure. It's a safe building for children, and it helps you mentally prepare for what's going to happen next during the day. And then that kind of clicked that, wow, this is something that I would have really needed when I was a kid. And then I started to look at what's out there, and it's felt like it was really old solutions, like practical hourglass digital solutions, nothing that a kid really would feel excited for using. And I felt frustration that, well, why are we focusing on this, I guess, not useless, but application that doesn't, games and Taskman, there's so many products out there that maybe fulfill like a nice to have need, but what about the needs that is, really important to, build your child's mental health?
Yeah, this is actually not the best way, but for me, it's the only way when you build a business, especially if you're focused on social field, out of your own frustration and experience, then you're also your own audience, and you know from inside. So this is the only way to success. I think this is exactly how I built my company, because when you try to write projects and you don't have any help out there, you're kind of wandering in the dark, and then you try to create something you like yourself. And here you have a very specific need. I recognize it, having children myself, to plan and to be in advance and to be very structured, to give information in order to avoid meltdowns and frustration from their side. So yeah, it's really, I see it as a parent, that it is a real need. But how did you go from this personal insight to a first prototype, and found the real users? What was the exact journey? Did you build something first and show, or did you have this well-known in entrepreneurial world mom test, when you asked a lot of parents before you built something? So how was this building the first prototype step? How did it look like?
Yeah, it was not a straightforward process. Usually never are. Just taking what you said about that frustration, that I think it's, as you say, very important that you have something that frustrates you to keep you going for the long marathon that is actually building products and companies. I think when I built it, it was a little bit of both. As a designer, I took the designing approach to both learn as much about the problem and potential users as possible, but also to try to create something that I could show and design. So I reached out to people in my network, try to find um, families that experience this problem more. So I reached out to schools, got in contact with some special teachers. I got in contact with some families that had autistic and ADHD children. So I really, I think you can get far just by asking people. So some families was really kind and invited me in essentially, and told me about how the day-to-day worked. I could see that it's very loving families, but maybe extra chaotic when you have children on the spectrum. So they worked a lot with different pictograms, scheduling. It's as the, you could kind of see that a lot of the day was um, around the daily planning. When to eat breakfast, when to dress up, and what to wear, things like that. Go to school, daily calls to the teacher to know exactly what's going to happen during school. Um, but some of the issue, yeah. So I worked with some family I worked especially with was Mother Elizabeth with her son Love and Vera, and they were really creative. Like to draw and do stuff on the computer and Minecraft, but you could kind of see that it's frustrating because they have a happy family when things work well, but when things doesn't work well, it creates a lot of unnecessary frustration. Um, so then I pinpoint. Well, they shouldn't actually help me to draw some figures and some of the characters to the early versions of DayCape. But one of the big obstacles was this daily communication between schools and family. They had the schedules put up in the home, and the school had their own schedule. So the main takeaway there was, can we create kind of let's close this communication gap? Then maybe we can make the planning more efficient and make more days work better, essentially. So then, to go back to your questions, I think the first thing I was very like an MVP, like a video essentially, like very graphic, like this is how a timeline could look like. I showed it to Vera and Lowe, and they could tell me that what they liked and didn't like, and tweaked it. So then, essentially, I started to have something that I could show. That essentially, I got started communicating with more schools and people. I got advice from a school friend that actually there's some funds you can apply for post and telephone institution for creating things for people in the neurodiverse spectrum. So then essentially I started to put together some visual, and this is how you could do it, and also piece that I actually verify that this is something that there's a real need for. And then I got some funds for that. Started to build the MVP, some very basic stuff. Got some more funds and entered actually Reach for Change, which is Kinnevik's social entrepreneurship program. So then I got more funds, actually started to design and build an application that launched as a MVP, and kind of started with a small group of users that we invited through a survey. I was trying to be super clear, this is an MVP, try it with your children, but maybe not expect everything to work flawlessly at this point. he worked also a lot with, I guess, quantitative and quality research, like also with surveys to try to, I guess, verify that, is this these features or this problem something that most families experience, or is this something that maybe a few experience, kind of different between like nice to have for some families and really important for most families, for example.
How many children have been used historically since the start of your app, this service, approximately?
Need to check the numbers now, but I think we're up in around 10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
It's not bad to help 10,000 children to plan their day, to put an order. It's also chain effect to parents and schools as well. So you need to count at least 3 or 4 more adults at least in their circle, or more if you take teachers.
Yeah, and I think you shouldn't underestimate the chain of thought effect. That if you help the children, I mean, first of all, we helping the children can be the difference between being kind of independent from society and actually being part of society. So it's huge. So if you start to count like the cost for society, it's enormous, and politicians should talk more about it. But then we have the parents that the Autistic Foundation made a survey that around 75% of these parents are we'll call it overburned. They're sick leaves because of these family situations. And of course, we talked to a lot of teachers that they reach out and then they use DayCape because they maybe get some student in their class that they see some special need, but they don't really know what to do essentially. So then they can start using DayCape and see that as a framework to start giving the student more adapted need to that student essentially. So there's that's the great thing with working social impact, that you can see a lot of like chain impact in different for different people in different directions and for society overall.
Yeah, and this what I'm like. We are working a lot with getting funds for social impact ideas, and sometimes the owner, the founder, doesn't think about that part so much when they apply for funds. They think that I have an application or I have tech solution. They focus to fund for this purpose, but actually the most important is what the result of your work. Why are you doing this? And to apply for funds for this purpose, because what you want is to help children, and this app is a tool to do it. So my question is, when you apply for those specific funds at the beginning of your journey, when you didn't have any money and no investors, was it easy to receive the first money for your social mission, or did you struggle until you got the first project or the first money?
Yeah, I think I got a little bit lucky with the first one that I got in, but it's of course it's. I mean, I didn't get all the like funds that I applied for, and it is a struggle. You need to embrace that, and I kind of get that. I mean, it makes sense that you want to focus on the, build a great product, and rather than think about all the like external effects. But I think I had the advantage also that I actually, I started marketing also, not because I needed as a designer, because I just felt that it made sense to also be good at communicating. So I used a lot of storytelling when I pitched to really like draw up the whole family and societal situation. And I think it also ties into that is the nature of this application. It's about connecting more people into the platform. Then it's for pitching and receiving funds for the product that made it, I would say, easier, because I think I was great at communicating that, and actually started to calculate some numbers on what would be the societal savings, and how many children can we reach, what would be the secondary effect of this application. Could it save money in schools and things like that? But of course, it's not. It's it's not that I nailed it from the first pitch. It's been kind of like my approach being that. So every time I pitch something, or every time I do application, to kind of reevaluate how we did it last time, and if there's something we can bring in and improve. So I see it kind of as a very iterative process.
Yeah. And this is the way to go, to apply for funds, and to apply it's exactly this, to build on real needs, to find something appropriate for you, and have perseverance to do a job apart from what you love to do the most is to program, and also to get no and try again. This is really a recipe for success for any founder. But Anton, when did you feel, do you remember the moment when you felt like that you're onto something real, when conversions started to get easier, and it's kind of flow started down the hill a little bit, not only up to put the stone, if I know what I mean? Do you remember this moment? Did it got easier for you?
Yeah, it was kind of gradual. I mean, when you're building something, you sometimes feel a little bit crazy, because you're like, you hear that it could be good, and you maybe talk to a lot of people that think it's good, but you're not sure yet, because you don't have any users yet, or any people actually using it. So then you kind of can get some ghost in your brain that well maybe I'm just imagining this. But I think when I started to, especially when when you see the product, you see some downloads, and it's see that it looks like it's working, but you don't just see numbers. But I think it was when I started to drop in some emails from some users. I especially remember one mother that mailed me. She was just super excited that she had a daughter. He had a daughter that on the autistic spectrum, that isn't, as he described, isn't really good at communicating, especially what she likes and didn't like. So she was really excited, because it was doing one on her dinner, that she actually pressed the dislike button on the food, essentially. So I mean, she was really excited, because she wrote to me that actually I'm learning things about my daughter now, because now I know that she don't like this food. And that was really heartwarming for her, and for me to read that. And I think that was one of those wow, okay, this is actually making some difference here. It's a strange feeling that you don't know the person, you don't really know where they are in the world, but they actually are affected by your work. That's a really warm feeling.
It is inspiring when it's worse to have nothing on the other side, but nobody who confirms. And I can imagine it's fun to start to get feedback, and then you have more motivation to continue. But what would you describe as the hardest for you, the hardest challenge? Is it funding? Was it funding at the beginning to find user trust, or to build? What was toughest for you as a founder? of DayCape?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, in some part maybe like funding later on, because when you have a product, it's you always need to like pitch that you're shooting for the stars. So I think I mean always looking for funding and also like just reaching more users. Also, it's I mean we kind of grew like a good community based uh, platform, but
Mm,
then of course like okay, well, how do we reach like 1,000 users and how do we like communicate to them in an effective way? I mean that's also
mm,
one of the challenges. Uh, but I think yeah, I mean it's kind of like I guess it's like pinpoint like there's like three things I think that you need to in my business focus on is building a great product, and that
mm,
I'm good at because that's my base. Then communicating out that's maybe medium hard, and that's I mean it also ties into funds because you need to like have money for ads and marketing.
yeah.
So of course I think funding is the most difficult because it's we live in a capitalistic society and it's getting better and better. But uh, I think as a social entrepreneur, you need to like pitch even harder, essentially, because you need to prove both the impact and the business. Um,
Mm,
I think it's when I started, I think it was a more challenge because you kind of it felt a little bit unfair because if you have like a purely money driven business, you could just focus all your thoughts and resources on that. But if you when you're trying to build something with impact, you need to like divide your thoughts and resources on both like making sure that the product actually creates impact, but
mm,
also uh, proving the business value. So I guess it's like, well, it's been a struggle to like prove that well this is gonna make 100 billions because the purpose was never to be like a billion-dollar company. The purpose has been to provide impact. So
mm,
in that sense, it's been it's more difficult to get funding essentially.
mm. But how do you manage to know? It's a juggle when you're like the entrepreneur growing your idea from 0 to 1. It's a juggle because you are building, you're marketing, you're doing finances, you're doing a lot yourself. How do you know what prioritize in order not to go crazy in this jungle of tasks and to basically you are staying lean, but you are at the same time growing to 10,000 children went through your services? How do you manage to know what to focus on right now and to have the structure to grow and still staying such a little team?
Yeah, I mean, at some point it felt really chaotic with all the different tasks, and I think also sometimes, at least I struggled with that. You kind of get overwhelmed by advice and coaching as well, because there's so many people that want to draw you in different directions. Like maybe there's some funding opportunity if you just build it like this, or tweak your service into this, or just attend all these events and so on. Um, so I think also I would add to that that it's easy for I guess a founder to get dragged into
Hmm.
doing other stuff than building your business. Um, so I felt very overwhelmed by that for a while. But I think one insight was to like to keep it. It's easier to keep your head down a little bit, to not just jump on every opportunity and try to stay really focused on the core.
Mm.
Then I guess I have some kind of created my own structure doing over time, where so I kind of can manage multiple things going on at the same time. So maybe that a structure that I have. I guess I have a kind of like a mentality that scaling stuff. So I book like meetings to sync with a development team. Have maybe prepared some notes what to think about then. Review what's going on, what we need to solve, make some notes about that, and then kind of mentally, I guess, make kind of like a to-do or okay, this is what I need to do next week and or tomorrow, and then just kind of mentally drop that from my clear my head, essentially clear my browsing history. So then I kind of have usually plan kind of a lot my schedule and make sure that I know what's gonna happen during the week, what I need to focus on, what is the like 50 tasks that I need to complete this week, and what can I drop to next week and the week after that, essentially. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of managed to handle I guess not multitasking, but just keeping multiple things going at the same time. I kind of see it kind of it's kind of like you set multiple trains parallel ongoing at the same time, and you need to like check up on them once in a while.
Yeah, you said at the beginning of the podcast that when you start the business in general, but also social impact business, you need to prepare for a marathon. And you don't do marathon on pure inspiration. It's actually discipline. It's not to run at the beginning very quickly and then have no energy to continue, but it's a planning, it's preparation, and then just methodical day-to-day planning. And it feels like you already like ground in this thought, because the biggest mistake, including myself, the beginning entrepreneurs do, they jump on all opportunities, and the co-founders and team like advice, we need to do this and this, and you do little of everything, and then you're just overwhelmed and nothing happens, and then you just stop everything, freeze, and you choose what's driving business right now. And day to day, even if it's boring, even if it's like you're tired, you just do show up, and then that's where change happens. So it feels like you're already on that side. You tested this beginner rush, not knowing what to do, and now a methodical entrepreneur.
Yeah, learn by experience. That doesn't work. Jump on
Yeah.
everything. I mean, there's so many ideas, and then I just feel overwhelmed, and maybe like that you're not doing anything because you have 50 ideas that you try to execute, and then none of them really works. But yeah, just keep like a more long-term plan to okay, here's things that I can launch and do in the next 6 months, and everything else is going to the maybe box. It also helps you to like not create messy product, or I don't know. It felt like at one point that maybe Facebook posts and something when you try to do stuff, too many things at the same time, the quality of some stuff that you do, it's starting to maybe fall behind also. So it's better to focus on some things that is most also knowing what's most important for you, and then other things can be placed in the maybe box.
It's good to have a maybe box. I'm sure that if you are wise, 90% of maybe box you will not even touch, and hopefully
that's the that's the common thing, that okay, the maybe box is like, I know, sometimes it feels like the trash can, because it's like, okay, I put it in a maybe box, so I know that I have it, but I will likely not touch it, and I can kind of forget about it. So
Yeah. But now you have managed to build a product. You have already a big traction. You are entrepreneur with experience, and our audience listening to this are those who dream to start or just started. So basically, it's good to have some insights and ideas how to build ed tech from 0 to 1. But when you, because one in your interviews, I read that you are planning, even though you said you don't plan to make it a million business, but you anyway have a plan to scale your up to other European countries and even US. How do you see the prospect of edtech and your up in scaling? And what's the biggest potential you see in your product, and also what's your biggest barrier to scale internationally outside of Sweden?
yeah, so now we're actually building a lot. We're I redesigned the whole product and we launched it, and we're gonna launch a lot of new features and stuff actually that I'm really excited about. Um, I'm actually also gonna launch the I guess adult version, because we had a lot of users that reached out to us and was like, hey, this app is great. I used it in high school, but it feels childish and not for me. Um, so I've been kind of like, that's something actually I've been putting in the kind of maybe box for years, because I felt that I can't really divide my resources to do that. But now we actually figured out a good way to build kind of like the adult version also. Um, but I see it as we're gonna, I mean, the market has changed also, and I think I see a potential to go closer to schools and start to like launch it more uh, in the different school platforms. So we have some partnerships, so we can kind of be part of the school app store essentially. So because we've been kind of like a little bit outside that we have our teachers that bought the licenses, but not really in a structured way. They had to go through some bureaucratic hoops to do that. I have my plan is to really start to like launch it as I guess an alternative, more adaptive school planning. And I see some potential in not maybe on like be the like planning tool, but as I mentioned, we have a lot of teachers that they don't really know how to help the students. So I think we can provide some more knowledge, and maybe with some AI and stuff, that we can be a more of a guiding hand also, like how do we support children with different needs. And from there I think we could reach a lot of more users in Sweden, and maybe scale up to other countries. I mean, it's always been like on the back of my head that we're mostly communicating with Sweden, but then nowadays there's sometimes it just pops up like teachers in USA, for example, that just found the app. I don't know how, but they do. So not like countries like that. Don't have a scaling plan for that yet, but I think we can like I think we could see kind of like a natural growth, and maybe when we get there, try to figure out like who can we partner with to reach more students, teachers in USA, for example.
It's very fun to see how your product naturally evolved from B2C, from having parents as a major customer group, to B2B now, because now if school become your clients, schools become your clients, then you are really changing as well a business model which evolves through time. But it happens naturally. Like you adapt to this when you feel it's ready. It's exactly like Facebook grew from student platform to something else, the Facebook we know now. So it's exactly happens in every product, and DayCape is a good example of how you really stayed like loyal to your course, stay loyal to your mission, and now you're adding up services gradually, and then you walk basically the path, and then the path appears and you get new possibilities, and actually, as I understand you correctly, even business model is shifting towards B2B, and it will become, in order to scale more like on European level, and even outside of Europe. So it's really
Yeah.
works
Yeah,
every
exactly.
time. I think this formula to work on what you're supposed to work, and the path will appear basically.
Yeah, I mean, we when we started, we kind of didn't know like which way it would lean, so we tested it. And what we can see is, of course, we have families, but then it's always been leaning towards that there's more use in school, essentially. And I guess it can come from that there's more planning in the school, and a lot of the things that also affect the home happens there. So I think I mean, it makes sense also even for the family perspective, because if the school purchase a license, I mean, the family can use it as well. So it's kind of like a win-win that the school have it, and families can use it at home as well. We actually built some. I think it's really neat that if you use it from home as a parent, you can you can block so the teacher don't see what you're doing at home, essentially. But you can still plan, and so the kids can see capture both activities at home and in school in the same application. So as you're saying, we're leaning towards that the big B2C, because that's where we see the more like revenue. But I think it's exciting because it's feel like a win-win, for the B2C customers.
Absolutely. And also for you to broaden your, not to put all eggs in one basket basically, but to have different revenue streams. And also for, if you speak about getting funds, it's also an interesting path, because education, like Erasmus Plus program and other programs, they are really focused on improving education, making education more inclusive. So it's really for you as well for getting funds to your product, but also to broaden the reach. It's interesting to add eventually. But EdTech, it's a lot happening there, because it's a lot of needs and a lot of like open also opportunities. So what would you advise to beginners in social entrepreneurship building EdTech right now? How should they start, and what should they think about based on your experience in order to succeed, we can say, quicker and more sure and persevere?
I think you could start kind of like as I did, to start to reach out to your target audience, learn as much about their problem as possible, and try to build or design something as early on as possible, because it's much more easier to show than tell, I guess. Like if you have something that you can show and talk about, rather than that you have ideas that you think about maybe too long. I think I see a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe they have the ideas that they think about, and they try to create their perfect execution plan, and maybe take a little bit too long to reach the stage where they start to build something, because they try to create the perfect business plan and the perfect scaling plan. So they should have like this super great idea of everything when they start. I don't think there's perfect ideas. I think ideas is kind of secondary. I mean, the execution and how you, like as you say, to do the daily marathon. To I try to think about, rather than okay, how can I make this perfect plan, rather than okay, well, what step can I take today and this week and the next month to be in a better position than I was yesterday. So I think it's better to think about in those terms, I think.
So my two main takeaways from your advice is to be consistent. Every day show up and be consistent, and don't strive for perfection. Try as a test, rather than waiting until the idea is perfectly crystallized and it's a perfect business plan. It's better to pivot rather than to wait until you're totally satisfied, because it never happens. Great, Anton. I think we are reaching towards the end of this podcast, and there is a tradition to have a little quick fire at the end with like short questions and short but really honest answers. I believe all your answers are honest, so it's not an exception. But here, like, you don't think too much for every question. So I will give you some statements, and you can have a short, honest answer to that statement. What's your biggest oh no startup moment?
Wow. I don't know. It's well, there's a lot of them. I guess it's been like a lot of times where like you open the app and it's the server is down or something like that. Oh no, and then you like really like panicking. The server is down and the developer is sleeping. And it's like, oh no. I mean that happened a few times.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like I got chills, not pleasant chills. It sounds like a nightmare. Oh no. Yes. Next, one tool or habit that keeps you productive.
I think my main tool, I would say, is Evernote. It's a note. Ben probably know it. It's a note-taking app that I think I used it for like also more than 10 years. So it kind of ties into this like clear my browser idea that I mean I take some notes maybe before this podcast, like just refreshing what I should think about and maybe what expected to talk about. And I've dropped a lot of like just email notes there. Just drop everything there, maybe, and tie it in. If there's something I need to take an action on, I tie it to a reminder. But then I know that notes and mails and things, I can access it both from my computer and phone, and so I don't need to like keep it in my head. I can kind of just clear it out, let it go. So I think that's a good, I guess, my main habit.
Good. Thank you for that. I hope those who have difficulty need to structure, and especially at the beginning of this entrepreneurial journey, they need something to structure and not to keep everything in head. So it's good advice. We take it. Okay, one book or podcast that changed how you think about your social impact or about your product.
One book or podcast. I don't know if I haven't really read that much the last years. I don't know. I feel like I've been on so many seminars and so on. Like when I was at Tweet for Change, I just thought about one quote lately from Sarah Dumber. She started Friends. He actually told me when I started at Reach for Change that when they try to find entrepreneurs, she looks for the people that has a little bit of crazy in their eye. Because, because it's like the people that dare and do some crazy stuff, and maybe are crazy enough to do the day-to-day marathon, do the boring stuff, do the hard stuff. So I think that actually changed, I guess, my mentality towards that. Well, it's not about just being the super. It's not being this smartest or being the one that has the best plan or the best idea. It's, as you say, being the one that are consistent, showing up, doing the boring stuff, doing the hard stuff. And by showing up, I don't mean go up 8 every morning. I mean, I don't do that, but we just do the stuff that needs to be done.
100% agree, sign under every word of what you say. It's a good advice. It's a good advice to keep in mind when you do this journey, this crazy journey. You need to be a little bit crazy yourself, or a lot crazy. And last question in this round: what does success look like for DayCape in one sentence? What if you're successful, if you're totally achieve your success? Sky is the limit, of course, but what's success for DayCape for you as a founder of it?
I guess that would be, I don't know, I see it that we're succeeded already, but I mean, one success would be that we could say or see that, well, we have 1 million children that consistently have increased their school attendance and performance during the last 5 years. Maybe both that we could maybe see it short term. I mean, you can already see in when we measure that more children press happy smileys after 3 weeks using DayCape, but actually see some real result there. And I think success would also be just if it comes to a day where I meet adult that says, well, I use DayCape from my school and it shaped me. Well, it made a difference. I mean, in one way that maybe would be more success.
So both you have every kid matters, but you want to have an impact by reaching out to not as little as 1 million, hopefully more. Hopefully 1 million is only intermediary indicator for you, Anton. And if a listener here wants to support DayCape's mission somehow, to become a partner, school, or a parent, how do they reach you? What's the best way to come in contact with you?
You can mail me at anton@daycape.com. So I'm really cool. We actually have an event in 2 weeks in Stockholm, 24th, 25. It's actually from a little bit younger adults, 18 to 25, because we want to work, as we mentioned, we're also working on the more from youth to adult version as well. So if you really want to support us, I think you should, if you are in the right older and are in Stockholm, you should sign up. If you know anyone that would be great to attend, make sure that they attend, because it's going to be really fun. We're going to have beer sets. We're going to have some meditation coaching and so on, just to work on best practices how to manage your day. And then, yeah, of course, if you know anyone that would have need of DayCape, I think you should tips them about it, and let them know that, well, they should give it a real go and try it. It's you maybe not gonna see the difference from the first day of the child, but you're gonna see it after 2 or 3 weeks, and we're gonna build a lot of exciting stuff for it the coming months as well. And of course, if you can always mail me if there's you want to help, but maybe don't know how. We can come up with something.
Thank you, Anton. And I'm sure if the application is fun to use, you don't think as a kid about time frame. You're just using and having fun, and progress comes along the way. So it's basically the best recipe when the user doesn't think or plan. Now I need to, in 3 weeks, I will feel like I'm more structured or feel better. It comes automatically by using DayCape. So it was a real pleasure to talk to you, Anton, and to find out more about the journey of DayCape. It's really reminding us, and it's a best practice on how something personal once for you, some frustration which you had, this empathy which you have towards other children in the same situation, like it grew to a business which is step by step growing and becoming big and giving more and more impact. It's really cool to find out more. Thank you for sharing. And for those who want to know more, please visit Anton's website, daycape.com. And there you can both subscribe and find all the information you need to come in contact with the founder and the team. And we will have it under the description of this podcast. So this link, just click there. So, and if you are building your own social impact idea and you don't know how, you are lost, you need funding, you need some ideas and support, contact us at Mira Sweden, and we will help you with the first steps as well. Our specialty is funding. So without funding, it's not possible to proceed. So contact us for that. And thank you for listening to Mission Unfiltered. Subscribe and share this episode. And I see you in a while again with another successful story. And share this story so more people can find out and get inspiration and concrete information on how to build based on Anton's and DayCape's journey. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
So